Today's call is about there's a large fear in relationships that it has to be the other person's way or ours. And this is fairly important because it creates a disconnect from the higher self that would allow for a win-win situation. When you have a belief like this, you position yourself not to have the solution. A strange way that the brain works and that the body cooperates with this, because you would think that when we need something and the information is available, we would just grab it. So the higher self relationship to the body, the connection to the Akashic records, the living library, all of these supports of guides and the ether information, all of this is available for us to grab information from and use it simultaneously so that we have a win-win in every situation. But then the brain steps in with a belief and it starts stacking its beliefs. And this creates a dilemma. So we come into the idea that somebody says to you, well, let the other person have their way this time. Oh, okay, so there's not a win-win. It's either them or me. So we accept this as a belief, and then we start building on that foundation of it's either the other person's way or it's my way. It's not possible to find a win-win. This goes all the way to the level of countries, where we're in a country divided because a group of people say, I want to smoke in public, and another group of people say, I don't want you smoking in public. I mean, just even if you guys remember going through that not too long ago, I know in Nevada it was a very big conflict because you could smoke anywhere in Nevada. There were no restrictions, and there had been in California, and there had been on airplanes. And then they decided in Nevada to start restricting it. And it was not just a kind little, hey, this is good for your health, we're going to do it. It was, how dare you take away my freedom? How dare you subjugate me? How dare you put me out next to the trash cans at work to smoke my cigarettes and not give me a nice place as when I was sitting in the park on a bench before? I mean, it's extreme the way this is impacting our lives. It goes back again to, if we have all the information and if all things are accepted as equal, then you can always find a solution for a win. So the people smoking cigarettes, for instance, in this scenario, it's not that they want to smoke in your face, and it's not that they want to have you have something that's bad for your health. And it's not even, that part doesn't even equate into their issue. Their issue is they're now secondhand citizens. They're being treated with prejudice. They're looked at as bad people because of something that they do, when before everybody was just fine with them. And it's very interesting, when we're looking for a win-win, we want to really look for what is driving the conflict. So in this particular example, it's not whether you can smoke or not, it's how are you treating me? I'm now not equal. I now have to walk 30 steps further to a break room that is just for me, that's dark and dingy, and that nobody takes care of, versus being in the break room before with everybody that's bright, sunny, all my friends are laughing. Again, everything is being taken away from me because I have something that I need. I may try not to smoke, and then my nicotine habit will kick in, my stress level will go up, I'm now bitter and angry, and I'm going to smoke under this condition of being bitter and angry. So it compiles. In a relationship, we look at, it doesn't have to be your way or my way. I'm not going to go into how we, over time in Las Vegas, they were able to come up with a lot of solutions to this, but not before all of this conflict and all of this uncomfortableness occurred. If we had just started from, oh, hey, this is the new paradigm, how do we make this work for everybody? It would have been a completely different experience. But instead, we went into, no, you can't do this anymore. So let's look at, from that big picture, let's go to our small pictures in our life, like this morning in my house. The dishes are in the sink. I'm super busy right now. I did not get to them last night. The dishes are in the sink this morning. And my daughter is like, well, I need a bowl. There's no clean bowls. And I'm like, well, then you're going to wash a bowl. And she already knows this answer. I said, or you can eat something else. You don't have to put your cereal in a bowl. You can put the milk in a cup. You can eat it different. She says, well, I want a bowl. Good. That's your choice, your freedom. She gets to wash the bowl. She's washing the bowl. She makes a big mess. And there starts to be, not on my side, because I don't have a problem with this, I'm watching the whole thing, but on her side, there starts to be all this conflict and all this pain. What happens is not that she's having a really hard time washing a bowl. She can do this. She knows how. What happened is, because I didn't do it for her, she felt unloved. The problem isn't that it's my way or her way, whether she has a bowl or not. The situation that creates the issue was I've taught her that I do the dishes. I've taught her that this is a way that I share love by taking care of her. In that moment that I'm not taking care of you, she translates that to I am unloved. It can be really difficult for people to move gracefully through a situation and see that everything's okay when they feel unloved. Are you following the general idea now that most of the time the reasons we feel that it has to be one person's way or another has very little to do with the topic at hand and more to do with how we feel about how we are being treated?
Yeah, but can it be rectified with like an explanation of why you're changing whatever it is you're changing, or perhaps why you're feeling a certain way?
Yes, that can absolutely help. It will not necessarily fix the problem. This started 2 months ago with the kids. I told them we're in a small space now. We have fewer dishes. Therefore, when you use your dish, if you clean it, you'll know that you always have a clean dish. Well, they chose not to clean their dishes. That doesn't bother me. I gave them a choice. It's not like I said, you must wash your dishes. I said, if you want to make sure you have a clean dish, just rinse them and put them on the drainer after you use them. You know, they're still young. They're still learning. So I gave them this space. And I did explain to them that I'm very busy these 2 months and that I won't necessarily be able to do everything you want me to do when you want me to do it. There will be some differences that you're not used to. So I gave them a heads up. But in the moment, it doesn't mean that people will remember that we are different. Remember, we talk about how we use the past to predict the future. In the moment, people are looking at, well, she did this and it was love. Now she's not, therefore it's not. It's like that. So an explanation can help, but it won't erase the way we use the past to predict the future. There's not necessarily a specific way you can do this in every moment, but we can start looking for the wins in the moment. Slowing down when we see that somebody's uncomfortable, helping them see that everything's okay. Doing, like you said, giving an explanation of, hey, this is the change. Saying, oh, I love you, I support you, you're not alone. Helping them see that their issue is not the fact that there's not a clean dish. Helping them see that they feel different in the moment is always a good plus as well. We're going to dig further and further into this, but this is just the beginning of starting to see that it doesn't necessarily have to be one person's way or another. When we can look at what is the real issue that the person is feeling, and we can look at what is our real issue that we're feeling, then we can start to look for the win-win in every moment. Today, the win was her making this mess and feeling unloved for a moment, and then me chuckling with her and laughing about how funny it all was, because it wasn't one thing. It went on for about 5 minutes. She picked up the milk carton and she dropped it, and there was no lid on it. But just before she picked it up, I said, hey, there's no lid on that carton. She couldn't find the lid. I said, well, just put it in the fridge without the lid, but be very careful that you don't spill it. And instantly, again, she supported this feeling that she was going through by dropping it and spilling it over the carpet in the stairway. Again, I just had to laugh about it because I'm not upset. I'm not burdened. I'm in a good place. So watching how she's treating herself, and I explained to her, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is how you're treating yourself. It's not a problem. And then she started to laugh too. She let go of the stress. She may not need to repeat these same experiences because now she's had a good moment with this. If we don't give somebody the space to have a good moment with something they feel bad about, if we always come to the rescue, if we always protect them, then they won't necessarily change. And we keep that feeling that it either has to be their way or ours. There's more to move into with this open concept of all things are equal. So for instance, my daughter is younger than me. She's subjugated to my rules in my household. But I don't imprison with rules. So I'm very flexible. So she has a freedom that other people might not have. And I'm not saying that we can live this way in every moment, in every space, as this feeling of equality that I'm talking about, but I'm saying that we can work towards it in every moment, in every space. And if we don't give it the effort, if we don't try to be the full expression of ourselves, then we won't be able to cooperate the paradigm of that there's always a win-win. The struggle becomes this internal issue of control, which is what we've been working up to with every lesson that we've talked about. is how are we controlling ourselves. So in the moment, again, with my daughter and the bowl and the cereal mess, if I was short-tempered, if I showed anything less than love, she would have ingrained that she was right, that she is unloved. She gets the idea that she's unloved from either something internal or something external that she's seen. She doesn't get that idea from me. I'm never in a moment that I don't love her. If I'm short-tempered about something and she says, "Oh, this means you don't love me," I just remind her that is not true. I always love you. I'm short-tempered because of, and I say my issue. We tend, as a society, to make things about something external. And when we communicate to others, we make it external as well. So I may say to you, "Oh, you did this to me. I'm angry because you left the cap off the milk. I'm angry because you spilled the milk." But none of that is true. That's externalizing our anger. We're really angry, as you're learning through the return to observation, we're really angry because of something that we don't even know is happening in this moment, because of something in the past that we're not aware of in this moment. The whole purpose of the return to observation is to give you the tools to, when you get to this place of, it's either a lose-lose or a win-win. There's never a win-lose. There's never, "Oh, you get your way and I don't get my way. You won and I lost." No, it's always either a win-win or a lose-lose. And it can be very difficult to accept that because we think, "Oh, I got my way, therefore I won." But you've always heard, pick your battles. You can win this battle, but you may lose the war. And that's where that backs up the concept, too, of it's either a win-win or a lose-lose. Because if I get my way and it damages our relationship, then I haven't won, I've lost. And you're unhappy, too, so we've both lost.
So I'm looking at what you're saying in relation to my daughter, and there it's pretty clear to me. But with my grandson, it's not as clear. And I think that's because he's all about play, and it's very difficult for him to listen to people. I mean, I imagine it has to do with being autistic, but the point is, I don't know how to communicate with him about simple things. It's not that he doesn't have the intelligence, and it may not be that he's not listening. It's just I don't feel like he's listening, and he's not responding to me as if he is. I used to get short-tempered or angry, or that, at least that seemed to be the way it was. I remember thinking, I'm just raising my voice to get his attention. I don't know if that was true or not, but that's the way I'm remembering it. And I do raise my voice to get his attention because that's the only way I know how, or that's what I think I have to do to get his attention.
Right. Let's stop right there and look at just that little piece of the process, because that's really, really wise of you to see this and to acknowledge it the way you did. In the moment, you see something and you think this is the only way. This is the way everybody communicates. When you're not getting the response that you expect from your communication, there's a moment to stop. It goes into the idea of, are my actions getting me what I want? I'm raising my voice to get his attention. Is that all I'm getting? If your action is not getting what you want, then you need to adjust the action. It doesn't mean that this is easy. The win-win isn't always easy because we don't have all the pieces. But if we look at it and we continue, we'll find it. I think I might have shared this story before, but I'm going to share this one again because it makes so much sense. We were in a public place. My daughter and some other people were at Circus here in Las Vegas, and she was 4 years old. And she wanted to stay and watch the trapeze act. And we needed to go because we had other plans and things to get to. She does not have the understanding that we need to go. She has the understanding that she wants what she wants. So it sounds similar to what your grandson is. He's doing what he wants. He wants to play. She wants to play. She wants to have this joy. She doesn't see a reason to end this joy. Schedules are artificial. So when you try to teach somebody that a schedule is something to be prioritized, it can be extremely difficult. So I'm trying to teach her in that moment, hey, we're all going. We're going whether you're ready to go or not. Now that's another difficult thing. I'm not taking care of her. I'm making her do what I want whether she's ready or not. Now let's take that back into just present day to day. Sarah does not like to be rushed. there's a really good, strong foundation for why, because I've always been very patient and kind with her and allowed her certain freedoms that, again, most people probably would not allow. And in doing so, I've given her this place that she's always okay. If I rush her, she doesn't necessarily know how to get things done yet in as quick a manner as I want. Now, when I was little, I was taught really young how to rush. So by age 6, I could do everything I needed to do to get ready and walk out the door with my mom in like 5 minutes, no problem. I could get dressed. I could find my shoes. I could help my little sister. I could make sure I had a snack if I was going to be hungry. I could do all of these things, but at a very young age. Sarah hasn't had that pressure. She doesn't have as many siblings around as I did, and there wasn't as much for me to do, so I could support her and do more for her. Now, I want you to look at this in many relationships. A lot of times this comes up because, again, we teach other people how we are to be treated. So I'm teaching Sarah that it's okay to be patient, that it's okay to be kind, that it's okay to meet your needs, that we're not in a rush. I'm really good about planning. I make enough time knowing that she's going to need this time. And then today we decided at the last minute, okay, we need to be somewhere right away. And I said, okay, Sarah, I need you to rush. And she's like, but I don't like to rush. And I said, I know, honey. I know you don't like it, but right now, in order to meet my time needs, if you want to come with me, I need you to rush. She had a choice in that moment. If I'd have done it different and just bossed her and told her to rush, there would have been a lose-lose. She would have started crying. I would have been fighting with her. It would have been a terrible experience all around. But I've already showed her, I love you. You're in a safe place. I'm asking you to do this. You can trust me. See right there? There's one of the things that makes us either find a win-win or a lose-lose. I have a level of trust that when I ask something of Sarah, she knows that I'm doing it from a very good place. She can count on it. And so she will then be okay versus if she couldn't trust me. So if I don't keep my word, if I do something that is out of character and I don't explain it. Now let's take that back to your grandson and the yelling. If yelling means something more to him than I'm just getting your attention, then when you yell, he will shut down. He will turn off and he will not feel safe. If you're able to teach him that I'm only raising my voice to get your attention, then he would be like, oh, she needs my attention. Let me give that to her now. There's a different response system. But it's a matter of creating the habit in another person. And now we can tie even this into that concept of common sense. How many people think, oh, it's common sense to not cross the road when a car is coming? And then you see somebody just crossing the road right in front of a car, nearly get hit. I mean, they're so, and we think, oh my gosh, what are they doing? And on yesterday's call, Kayla brought that up, how these kids were crossing the road in front of these moving vehicles. And her first instinct was, what are you doing? You guys think you're all that? That's not safe. Wait a minute. Let me pay attention to them. They actually are being very safe, and they are meeting their own needs. And everybody's fine in every moment. See, there's that thing of fear that pops up. So when you said, you're either raising your voice to get his attention or maybe something more, I would assume that there's a low level of fight or flight fear that comes in. So you're raising your voice to get his attention. You need his attention for a reason that will meet what you see as both of your needs. If it's not working, that fight or flight then kicks in unless you stop it in that moment and you just evaluate again, okay, are my actions getting me what I want? Well, no, they're not. So my raising my voice is not necessarily going to work. Maybe I need to go over and touch his arm. Now we have a breakout call that we just put up that is with Heather about her kids, and that covers what this little topic right here is. How are you getting someone's attention? And so that would be something to listen to give you even more support about what we're talking about, which is you want their attention, and the way you see it is if I raise my voice, this means I want your attention, and therefore you will give it to me. But that's not necessarily true. So if your actions aren't getting what you want, you need to stop and try something else. The other thing that happens is when we want something and we do what we believe is going to get us that, and it doesn't work, we can go into a panic. Again, a low level of fight or flight. And if we don't have something else to do, we will repeat the same experience again. So in that moment, if you don't have a different action than raising your voice, and you see that it's not working, you're probably just going to raise your voice even louder. I mean, in my past, that's what I did. So I would raise my voice to get the attention because that's how I was raised. To me, this means I want your attention, pay attention. I was taught again at a young age to pay attention. So it worked. It was very effective with me. When I tried it on my kids and it didn't work, I was like, hey, this is disrespectful. Why are you treating me this way? There, we go right into fight or flight fear. Why would I think they're being disrespectful? Just because they didn't pay attention when I raised my voice. When I stopped and I asked them, why are you not paying attention to me? They said, oh, I didn't hear you. Oh, okay. They were in their own world. But we tend to make assumptions when we do anything habitual that if it doesn't get us the response we expect, that the other person is mistreating us in some way. Now, again, this goes into these relationships. We start to think that it has to be one way or another. But we all know that if we slow down and we communicate, and we find out more of the truth in every moment, that the experience becomes something different. This is how we start going in the direction of the win-win. Without moving in this direction, there's very little that will ever change, and we will continue to have this stressful experience over and over. Now, I seem to have talked up the whole time today, guys. Sorry. We're coming to the end of the half hour, and I do have something else right after this, so I can't go on much longer. But do we have any quick questions or comments?
Yeah. Today's controlling comes from the past where you have thoughts, assumptions, and perceptions.
Correct. So in the moment when that control doesn't work, then you need to stop and say, okay, what is happening in this moment? What's the truth of this situation? And then move forward from that. But what we tend to do, again, is go into the past over and over and saying, but this should work, and it doesn't always work.
I think part of my problem is that sometimes it does work. Raising my voice, he does hear me, where he's so deep in thought, he's not hearing me. So I raise my voice and he does hear me. So then I think this works and I go to do it another time and it doesn't work. And that's just something I have to keep looking at.
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying is sometimes it does work, but in this moment it's not working. The action is not getting me what I need. And instead of insisting that the action is right, I can look at finding a win-win in the situation. Again, go over and touch gently. Be patient and give them more time to complete whatever it is they're doing and then ask for their attention. We tend to, as adults, demand the attention of children because we are timely. We know that they just want to play. And we know that there's a schedule that they don't understand. So we are timely and we become insistent that they come along in this timely manner. But none of that's true. It's all arbitrary. It's all artificial. It's all man-made. There's no fact in our timely schedules. And it creates this false of pressure to control.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, we can talk about this more next week. We still got a couple more weeks of learning to look at how we're experiencing our lives and to be able to take responsibility in a healthy way to make sure that we're creating the experiences that we want. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.